Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's Friday live Q&A. My apologies. We've had a really big storm here, and my internet has not been working correctly. So I've just been playing around with it, but hopefully I've got it working now. We've had there's been an enormous windy storm here for the past few days, and it always seems to affect my internet connection. So my apologies, guys. I've tried to go live about 4 times and it just wouldn't connect, but we seem to be live now. So nice to see you all. I know I wasn't here last week. I was away. My husband and I took a few days off and went away in our van. We've got a little vintage caravan. We just took off and had some time out from everything. It was really, really nice. So I just needed a break, and here I am back to answer any questions that you have. I did miss my Friday live with you guys last week. I really did. I miss talking to you guys, and I miss your comments and messages that people send afterwards. So thank you for being here. Welcome. And obviously, as always, please say hi. Let me know where you're listening from. Hi, Michelle. Yes, the call's on today. Just had some internet issues because of the very big windy storm we've had here. So now that we've covered all of that, I've obviously got some questions that have been sent in. And as you know, obviously the big things that I talk about during the week are things that are drawn on from my client work, from my relatable students, the students in my relatable program, and those live calls. And I just want to say we've had some really, I know I say this every week, but our Wednesday call this week was so moving. I was lost for words as I often am when we get together on these calls, because they are very special, the live calls. It's hard to put into words unless you're on one of those live calls just how special it is. To me, it's a co-creation between the group, and they're profound, they're beautiful, there's a lot of love there. And I had a couple that were coming up to the end of their 12 months in the program, or the 12 months of access to the program, and they were sharing how this had changed their marriage, changed their lives, the impact it had on their lives. It was just beautiful to hear that. It was so moving and so touching. And then a couple of the other students came on and shared just how much this understanding, being a part of this community, had impacted their lives. And as always, when I'm hearing from my students, which are like my family, when I hear about the ripple effects of what they're doing, it was just like I actually said at the end of the call, I said, I'm so moved. I think I'm going to go back inside, sit on my husband's lap, and just have a big cry. Not because I'm sad, but because I'm so moved, so deeply moved. And I felt deeply moved ever since, and incredibly grateful to be able to do what I do, and to be around extraordinary people such as yourself, who are showing up in the world the way that you are. And so many of you send me messages, even if you're not relatable students of mine, about how much you love the calls and what they mean to you. And I really do appreciate that. I do this because I want to be of service, and I want to make a difference. And there's a lot of division in the world at the moment. There's a lot of people taking sides over all sorts of things, and I'm not going to get into anything about that. I don't believe that's my purpose in the world. There are many people out there already doing that. My purpose is I'm very clear on what my purpose is. My purpose is to show people what love looks like, and to help people come back home. Because when people come back home, all their defenses fall away, their insecurities, their need to protect themselves from others. They open up their hearts, they heal, their walls come down, they connect, which is what we're born and designed to do. And when another human being authentically connects with another human being, it spreads ripples that go to places you can't possibly imagine, because that is our true nature. That is who we are. And so when people get an opportunity to experience their true nature, when people get an opportunity to experience who they really are, anything that isn't that does not look anywhere near as interesting, exciting, compelling. It's like, why would I want to be in the feeling of that when I can be in the feeling of this? And this is a conversation that comes up a lot. It's like, why would I want to be in the feeling of the resentment, of the angst, of the anger, of all of it when I can be in the feeling of this? Now, sometimes when I say this, and I want to just clarify something. When I say this, some of you who are not in my community, as in my relatable community, you hear that as though I'm saying, oh, so I'm just supposed to ignore anything that upsets me and I'm never allowed to be upset. And I just want to say that is absolutely not what I'm saying. Okay, that is not what I'm saying. I'm talking about something that goes to a whole different level, right? It's a whole different level of understanding, a whole different level of relating, a whole different level of connecting. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean this to sound disrespectful, although it may come across that way, and I apologize in advance if it does. I'm not here to be disrespectful to anyone's experience. But if you're hearing this as though I am saying, oh, so it's all just unicorns and rainbows, which someone said to me once, oh, I'm just supposed to ignore everything and pretend it's not happening. I'm just going to say you're listening to what I'm saying through a very low level of awareness. And again, I do not mean to put you down in any way. There are different levels of awareness available to us, unlimited, and depending on how you meet life, how you meet a moment of now, you will listen through that level of awareness, right? And, I used to listen to life through a very low level of awareness myself, hence why I was very reactionary, very defensive, very quick to get on my high horse, very quick to self-righteousness. And I found it very hard to get over myself. And that was because of the level with which I was listening, the level of awareness. And I am immensely grateful, hence why I say that so often, to have had the opportunity to learn what I learned, to know what I know. So I no longer listen to life, others, things that are going on around me through that level. I listen to it. I get the opportunity to listen to that through a completely different level. And when you listen to something through a different level of awareness, you hear it in a completely different way. You don't hear it through the lens of, do I agree or not agree? Is that right? Is that wrong? Is that good? Is that bad? You don't listen to it through the lens of division. You don't listen to it through the lens of judgment. You listen to it through the lens of love, and then you see what resonates with you. And then from there, because of the way you're showing up and listening, you get to generate something completely different than what you would if you were listening through a lower level of awareness. And so it's not to say that one level is good or bad. It's just that depending on the level that you listen through will generate a completely different consequence, okay, in your life and the lives of the people around you. So I am committed, and that commitment just grows stronger and stronger every second of every day, especially in light of what's going on in the world, to keep showing up this way and to keep looking in the direction of insight, the direction of love, the direction of understanding, the direction of hope. We had a big chat about the power of faith and hope on the call on Wednesday, and why we need that in our lives. Why, and I'm going to talk a little bit about that today, because I think we need that more than ever in the world at the moment. But I get the opportunity to listen through that lens, and I will keep doing so, because I know that everything is a co-creation. Even on this call, the people that are on this call, or if you're watching or listening to the recording of the call, this is a co-creation between my energy and yours and the energy of the divine. And you will create from that things that will ripple out into your families, your lives, your communities. Even if it's as simple as, and this is the thing, don't hear me when I talk about the word create, it sounds like it's got to be this enormous mission, right? It's like you may, listening to this, it's no shoulds, it's purely an invitation. You may, from hearing this, walk out and be someone that smiles at someone, that makes that is kinder, that shows up in a way where another human being feels seen by you, right? Because it's so important that people feel seen. When we feel seen, we glow, we radiate differently. You may do that. That is enough to create an enormous ripple, because that's how important these things are. These are the things that we have forgotten about because we're so focused on all the division and all the stuff and the mountain of information that's coming at us, which makes it seem like life is very complicated and hard. It's actually really simple. And when we simplify things and we focus on what is truly important, and we don't get distracted by the red herrings that are everywhere, right? The red herrings that are everywhere, we're able to keep focusing on what's truly important and drown out the noise, because there's a lot of noise designed to take you away from yourself. Please know this, because when we listen to all the noise, we get distracted, and human beings are very easily distracted. The most powerful thing you can do is show up from a place of love, kindness, hope, faith, particularly in the face of what is going on in the world right now. You know, I've got to say, I never know what's going to come out of my mouth when I press live on these things. I never know. I literally, I'm going to promise you, I literally press live. I don't think about it beforehand, because I feel like, as I said to you, this is a co-creation. And if I think about it too much, whatever needs to be said doesn't get said. It gets drowned out by my own ego and my own personal mind, right? And I had no idea I was going to say what I've just said to you, but it certainly feels like it needed to be said. Not that I knew that needed to be said before I opened my mouth, right? That's the beauty about showing up with nothing on it, if that makes sense. And when I say nothing on it, it's like, I don't need you to like what I am saying. I don't need you to agree with it. I don't even need you to like me, right? That's not what this is about. This is just about being of service, and the people who need to hear what I need to hear will resonate with it, and then those who don't, and so be it. But I'm so glad that I just said what I needed to say. So important. Okay, so let me just get onto these comments. Hi, Michelle, live from Mitchell, Queensland, here for another week. Oh, nice. Good for you, Michelle. I do love the fact that you can just, in your RV, just go wherever you want. My husband and I were dreaming about that when we came back from our little trip on Monday. I said, imagine if we were just accelerating down the highway, no idea of where we're going next, and we were just doing a massive road trip. This is we definitely want to do that one of these days. So I love the fact that you can do that, Michelle. Good for you. Hey, Rebecca. Hey, Beck. You're sorry you missed the Wednesday call. You and Charlotte were having a girls' night. Nothing more important than that, honey, is it? Nothing more important than a girls' night with your daughter. Love it. Hi, Craig. Thank you for your beautiful comment, Craig. We miss you too. Craig was one of my students who's just finished, I think it was 2 years in the program, or 2.5 years, who's just finished up. So we will miss you too, Craig. We love having you on our live calls. Hey, beautiful Lee. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Lee is one of my students who shared beautifully on Monday. One of my students from Canada is on our Monday calls and ignited a beautiful conversation that we had on Monday. Sandy, hello. Hi, honey. Nice to see you. So glad to have you here. I really appreciate that. Nice to see you too. Hi, Mark. Yes, even a mustard seed of hope is well worth nurturing, 100%, right? Think about it. When we sit in a space of hope, our minds go from this to this. Now, which one do you think is a more loving frame of mind? This frame of mind, a mind that's here, or a mind that's here? Which is a more loving frame of mind? A mind that's here, or a mind that's here? I'd love to know what you think. Hey, Lee. Thanks. Thank you so much, honey. So appreciate you. Oh, hang on. I think I just got my Lees confused, did I? Anyway, I've got 2 Lees. I may have got you around the wrong way. Sorry about that if I did, but love you both. You know who you are. Hey, Penny. Thanks for saying hi, darling. So appreciate it. And you're so welcome, Catherine. Oh, thank you. Hi, Kim. Oh, it's Jim listening in. Hi, Jim. How's your mum? I've been thinking about you and your mum. I really hope that she's doing okay. I really have been thinking about you. Honestly, Jim, I want you to know I've been holding you and your mother in my thoughts and my prayers. Michelle, the mind that's internal. Yes, it is the mind that's internal. So the reason that I'm speaking to this is when we are when our minds are open, right? When our minds are open, we are less rigid. Okay, we are less rigid. People get very rigid in their thinking, in their beliefs, and we tend to cycle way more than people understand or realize. We cycle around the same old thinking. Most of what we think is a recycle of the same. And because we've been thinking it for such a long time, we tend to fall under the false illusion or narrative that because I've been thinking about it for a long time, that must make it more real or true. That is not the case. That is not how it works. Just because you've thought something for a long time or you've believed it for a long time is not an indicator of how true it is. Now, there's a number of reasons why that's important, but let's bring it back to relationships because many of you tune in to hear about that, right? And as many of you know, if you've been following me for a while, I feel that relationships are the heart of everything. Our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with life itself, and our relationships with others it's the heart and soul of existence. And so it's really, really important that we understand how things work and how to do them well. So think about it like this. If you're someone who's very rigid in your thinking, how well do you think you are going to deal with the emotional ups and downs that come in a relationship, right? How well do you think you're going to deal with that? Versus someone who is less rigid in their thinking, more open-minded, how well do you think you're going to do? If you're someone who's entrenched in the past or continuously worrying about the future, how open-minded are you? Because here's the thing, you can only be truly open-minded when you're present. Yes? And you cannot be present if you're circling back around the past and worrying about the future. Neither of these things actually exist, right? The past is done. It doesn't exist anymore unless it's brought to life via a memory in your mind in a moment of now. But it's done. The future has not happened, so it doesn't exist. So you're now in a place of constant illusion. And I see people who are constantly in that state of mind trying to solve a relationship problem or an issue or a situation that can only be solved by being in the present. And this is something that people struggle with. People struggle to be in the present. And that is nobody's fault, right? It's nobody's fault. It's just that we've mistakenly been led to believe that, well, if I think a lot about the past, I can prevent the past. If something's harmful has happened in my past, I can prevent the past from happening again. Right? And I can see why people would think that. Logically, it makes sense. Logically, it makes sense. But the problem with that is what happens is your mind does this. You cycle around the same old stale thinking, so you don't get access to fresh thinking. The only way we create change, long-term sustainable change, there is only one way, via fresh thinking and insight. How much access to fresh thinking and insight do you think you're going to have if you're cycling around the same old thinking? Right? Very little access. And so you inadvertently, and I really want you to hear me say this, you inadvertently recreate the past in the now. And you think that's a good idea because I'm stopping myself from having that happen. But the only way you can prevent the past from happening again is by being present in the now, listening for understanding, fresh thinking and insight, because fresh thinking and insight comes from love. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fresh, right? It comes from something bigger than you, and it will always guide you to a place of expansion, always. But if you're constantly in the past, which so many people are, cycle, 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 or thinking about the future, cycle, 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 then you don't have access to that. And you inadvertently, through a more rigid mindset, recreate the very thing you don't want. And so it is very, very, very important that you understand that by being present in the now, understanding the way we work as human beings, all of a sudden, your level, and I'm coming back to what I started from at the start of this live, and if you've logged in a little later than the start, just go back and listen. What I started with at the start of this live, you'll come back to the importance of recognizing that the space that we meet life from, moment of now, the space that we listen from, engage from, if it's a lower level of awareness, you will recreate the same thing versus when you are in a higher level of awareness or understanding, you will see the same thing through completely different eyes, a different lens, a different everything. And that's when you truly start to create change. It is the only way, the only way. And this is true for all of us, whether you're male or female. Yes, I know there are biological differences between men and women. I'm not arguing that. But there are some fundamental sameness in terms of how we create our reality, the importance of showing up to a moment of now, the importance of creating change only via fresh thinking and insight. This is a human being thing. This is true for all humans. And this is where people feel empowered. This is where people feel hopeful. This is where people have a sense of faith and possibility. Now, I'm telling you right now, when you feel empowered, hopeful, and have a far greater access to possibility and expansiveness, fresh thinking, all of the things I'm talking about, the ripple effects of how you show up and what you generate in the world are mind-blowing. And I would love everyone to know that about themselves, because this is amazing for our relationships, amazing. It's amazing for our own level of well-being. It's amazing for the level of consciousness of humanity as a whole. Only takes a very tiny percentage of people to raise a level of consciousness, because that's how powerful human beings are, especially when they're home and they have a strong sense of who they are. And they tap into it, and they love from that place, and they communicate from that place, and they step forward from that place. It's incredible how powerful people are. And we need people to know this more than ever. Hence why I am so passionate about it. This has nothing to do with your age, your gender, your past. I know some of you have had very traumatic, difficult pasts, and you're going through very difficult things right now, but I want you to know this is bigger than this. You are bigger than this. And what I'm speaking to is bigger than this. And it's so important that you know this, because when you see that, you are able to, and I've seen this over and over again, not only with myself, but with my clients and students. People transcend things that they once saw, defined who they were, limited who they were, had them feel like that they could never get past X. And they suddenly see through the illusion of that. They suddenly realize that's not true. It's never been true. And from there, people do amazing things with other people. And I would love that for all of you. Relationships that seemed irreparable get repaired, only if you want to, right? Notice I don't use the word should here. I'm not saying you should repair a relationship with someone you don't want to repair a relationship with, right? I'm talking about the ones that you want to repair. I'm talking about the people that you want to feel closer to. I'm talking about the connections that you wish you had a deeper experience of. And you know who they are. This is possible when you truly see this for yourself. Every day when I think back to when my husband and I were so close to separating, and how much fun we have now, how it just gets better and better. Like it really does. I'm not just saying that, like it just gets better and better. I'm excited to see my husband. I love him dearly. I feel so lucky to have someone like that in my life, to have the connection that we have. I feel so lucky. I've experienced the complete opposite. Some of you know I left a very violent, abusive relationship many, many, many years ago. So I know the opposite. I feel incredibly grateful. And I would want that for all of you. Truly, I would want that for all of you. And so the importance of this, and to me, this is what building a connection, a relationship from the ground up looks like versus the top down, right? The ground up is, I know who I am. You know who you are. You know when you're home versus when you're not. You know when your mind is doing this versus doing this. You know and understand the power of fresh thinking and insight. You actively choose love because the other just stops making sense. Doesn't mean you can't have conversations about things that matter. Doesn't mean you can't talk about stuff where there look like there are big differences. But the difference in you is this. You do so without the aggro, the judgment, the defensiveness, the emotional manipulation that so many people do with those kinds of conversations. You stop looking at someone and wishing they were more like you, right? Which is what people do, right? If you notice that, you get into a relationship with someone and in the beginning, your differences seem refreshing and cute and interesting and adorable and yada, yada, yada. And then after a period of time, they're annoying. They're the one thing that drives you crazy. And you're like, why can't they do X like me? Why can't they see X like I do? Why can't they be more like me? Right? I promise you, you do not want to be in a relationship with yourself. Okay? That's not what you're looking for. It's not what you need. That's not what creates expansiveness and growth and all of those things, right? You're not meant to be in a relationship with someone who does and sees and thinks exactly the way you do. Where's the growth in that? Right? And believe me, you are here to expand. You are here to have all sorts of experiences. You're not here just to do the same old thing over and over and over and over again. I mean, you can. I'm not saying you can't, but you please understand there's more on offer if you want it. And so those moments when you're in a relationship and you're like, man, why can't they do things the way I do? All right, these are the things that I find hilarious, and hence why I wrote my book, Funny Little Human, right? There it is up on the wall behind me. I find that hilarious, right? We are so funny. So funny in how we can start off loving our differences and then so quickly get to a point where the very thing that you fell in love with about the other person is the one thing that drives you absolutely bananas. And if you are at that point in a relationship, that's your growth point. That's that moment where you're looking at someone and they're driving you crazy and you're wishing they were more like you, or you're wishing they wouldn't do that thing and you can't understand why they can't see the world the way you do. That's your growth point. That is your invitation to grow. Someone, some of you have found me through my Facebook ads. I've got an ebook called The 3 Keys to Emotional Freedom that I advertise on Facebook. And I talk about how easy and effortless relationships can be. And I know how triggering that is. People often comment and go, nothing easy about relationships. They're not effortless. They're complicated. They're hard. You don't know what you're talking about. And that's cool, because the narrative that we get pushed is that they are complicated and they are hard and human beings are complicated, right? That's the narrative. And yes, there's plenty of evidence in the world to suggest that's true. But I can tell you right now, human beings are very simple. Relationships are very simple. And here's the key. Here's the key to a simple relationship. You have to be really good at getting over yourself, right? And this is the thing people find the hardest thing to do in the world. We find it so hard, right? Now, when you don't know how to get over yourself, and I didn't for years, so I'm very guilty of not knowing this, we double down on our position. We become very rigid in our thinking. We get caught up in the need for someone else to see our point of view. We become controlling. In an argument, we'll chase people around the house. You need to listen to me. The other person might be saying to you, I need you to stop. I need space. No, you need to listen, because you've lost it at that point, right? And I know many of you have done this. I've done it before. You're so caught up. Your mind's gone here. You're so caught up in, you just need to listen to what I have to say. If you just listen to what I have to say, everything will be fine. In other words, if you just saw things the way I do, if you just agreed with me, really what you're saying to the other person, if you could just get over yourself, even though I can't, we'd all be good, right? That's what you're saying. And this is why I find it hilarious. And I say that I don't mean that in a patronizing or disparaging way. I say that with a lot of love to you all, right? This is where we're hilariously funny. We're asking the other person to do the one thing that we ourselves are not. We can't see it in that moment, right? We're too busy projecting. Or what I talk about in Relatable is, sneezing all over everybody, right? We can't see that actually we are the ones generating that. But this is where the power lies, right? When you actually see that and you understand what you were doing in a moment of now. One of my students on Monday's call, I think that was you, Lee. It was you, Lee. Said to me, was sharing a situation, and then said, Fiona, I realized that I was just bumming myself out. And the moment I realized that, the whole situation changed. This is the power of fresh thinking and insight, right? That's a fresh thought. That's insight. And she didn't see that through a lens of I'm a terrible person or judgment. It was just through the lens of, oh, I know what's going on here. And the moment she saw it, that rigid thinking that grips us, that makes us feel like we've got to keep going and we've got to say what we need to say and we've got to get our point across and the other person has to listen to us, all of a sudden that rigid thinking starts to fall away and our mind goes from this to this. And when this starts happening, magic starts to happen. It literally is magical, and it's easy and it's effortless and it's quite simple. And it's only as you start to experience this that you start to see the truth and the power of it, and nothing else really makes sense anymore. I'm not saying you never have those moments. You always will. Human beings are, we're messy. We make emotional messes a lot. That's what we do. But they start to make less and less sense. And of course, then we spend more and more time living in the truth of who we are in what we would call home. And then what we generate is completely different. And it has a profound impact on others. And so relationships do become easy, which is how they're meant to be. This narrative that they're complicated and hard, human beings are really quite simple, really simple. And when you see it, it takes away all of the thinking, all of the agonizing that people do, all of the agonizing, all of the anxious thinking, the worry, all of that stuff, which is utterly exhausting, takes it away. And that's where the ease comes through, and the possibility and the hope and all the other things. And that creates a different energetic frequency, which impacts everything and everyone around you, because, that's what the world's made up of, right? Energy and frequency. And of course, the energetic frequency that you're operating from is love. And love is the most powerful force in the world. And we all need to be reminded of that. Okay. I'm sorry to hear that, Jim, that your mum's not well. I really am. Hey, Shane, remembering isn't thinking. Well, remembering is thinking, right? It's all thought. but it's not necessarily generating fresh thinking, right? But thank you for your comments. Awesome. Hey, Lee. Yeah, trying to solve something with the same thinking that created it never works. Very true. Very true. Thank you, Shane. It is funny when you can see it, Michelle. Very true. Very true. Okay, now I haven't even answered one single question today, which is not helpful. Let me sometimes, I've just got to trust with whatever comes through sometimes. And this is what's coming through. So I've just got to go with that. Okay, I've probably got time for one really quick question. And I just want to say to anyone, we've had it. I also want to say I've just done a massive software migration over the past week. So some of you have bought my ebook online and you haven't received it. It's just a software issue. We're working on it. My beautiful assistant Doreen is handling it. And if you have purchased my ebook, just be patient. We're onto it. It's just the new software migration has been a little tricky. Okay. So if anyone who's on here live wants to ask me a question, please feel free, or if this is making sense or if this is helpful to you, I'd love some feedback. And I'll just have a quick look here. Okay, so question for today. Hi, Fiona. Thank you so much for everything that you do. Your Friday lives are the highlight of my week. Oh, well, thank you. That's really kind. Even though I don't listen to them live because I'm in the UK, I always look for them every Friday as soon as I wake up. Cool. Wow, that's so awesome to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. So my question to you is, why do little disagreements with my partner spiral into full-blown arguments so quickly, even when we both start with good intentions? Great question. Really great question. I think everything that I've spoken to today really speaks to this. It really does. And the reason for that is this. The reason it blows into full-scale arguments, really the most simplest and easiest answer I can give you is because you don't know how to get over yourself in a moment of now. And neither does your partner. And so because of that, it starts off with really good intentions, but you both get triggered. And instead of seeing that that's what's going on, you both knuckle down, you double down on your argument, because now all of a sudden you're feeling, right? You're feeling threatened, you're feeling defensive, you're feeling all of the things that you're feeling, and you see the way that you're feeling as an indicator of what is true, right? And then from that moment, because we don't understand what's going on, we double down. And it looks like the only way forward is to prove my point, is to push my point. And I'm doing the complete opposite of getting over myself. I'm now no longer listening, right? I'm no longer listening. I'm in my personal ego mind. I'm not coming from a neutral, loving place. I'm totally loaded. And I've got and my tone has changed. Please understand, this is why I talk about how powerful you are, right? And understanding how powerful you are. Please understand, when you do that, your energy changes and it has an immediate impact on the other person, right? And so their energy mirrors yours, right? Their energy mirrors yours. And so it kind of becomes like this figure eight where you're just kind of doing the same thing, right? You're literally doing the same thing. This is where you can really see, and I see this all the time with my couples when they first started working with me, they are literally mirroring each other. It doesn't look, I can't see it, I understand that, but they are mirroring each other. This is where, and of course, this is a very important question because it's those things that totally undermine connection, isn't it? That it starts off as a small thing and the small things become huge things. and they undermine connection. People stop feeling emotionally safe. Goodwill falls through the floor. And all of a sudden, you could be arguing over who forgot to pick the milk up, right? And all of a sudden now you're not speaking for the rest of the night. You're walking on eggshells and you're both miserable and you're sitting there thinking, how the heck did we get here? Now, I want to make this simple because simplicity is the key to change, yes? When it's complicated, we get too distracted with red herrings, as I was talking about earlier. It's because you don't know how to get over yourself, and neither does your partner. Because I know how to get over myself, those things do not happen in my relationship. Like, they just don't, because I catch it straight away and I won't allow it. I just won't allow myself to get into that state of mind, because I know that's not what I want to generate and create with my partner. Because the minute a small thing becomes a big thing, you are both now in the position of, I need to be right, which is a very adversarial way to be. It just becomes about who's more right than the other. And this is why things escalate. And you have to understand, when you're doing that, what you're saying to the other person is, I am more important than you. Right? Now, the minute we do that, nobody feels safe emotionally. And then that our state of mind does more of this rather than this. This is not a loving state of mind. This is an adversarial state of mind. This is a state of mind that's focused on being right and proving a point and defending. That's not where we generate connection. It's not where we generate goodwill. It's not where we generate love from. And generally in that state of mind, we will go back into the past and find all the reasons why we're right. And can you see, now we're not present? There's no fresh thinking, there's no insight, and we go round and 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 round, and nothing changes. Does this make sense? Oh, we're at 42 minutes. Wow, really, I need to stop talking. It's a very long live. I need to stop talking. Is this making sense? I just want to check in with those of you who are still listening. Is this helpful? Okay, thanks, Michelle. Thank you. Appreciate that. It's always good to know if what I'm saying is making sense, because I'm speaking, I'm not, unlike on our relatable calls where we're all talking to each other, I'm just, that's not what happens on a Facebook Live. So I like to just check in. Okay. All right, everybody. I've spoken long enough, and you all have things to do. Oh, thanks, Lee. Never too long, my fee. Yes, as always. Thank you, Sandy, honey. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. It's all right. I knew what you were saying, Lee. Appreciate that, honey. All right, everybody. So if you have a question that you'd like me to answer, send it to hello@fionalukis.com.au. And if you would like to join my Relatable program, I can send you the link to do that so that you can join our amazing, amazing community. Here's all the information on how to do that there. These are the kinds of conversations we have on our group calls. They're very, very special. So if you'd like to have this understanding in your life, if you'd like to live from the place that I have just been talking about, and as you can see, so many of my students are doing, that's how you can join our community. All right, everybody, sending you lots of love. I will see you all next Friday. Take care now. Ciao.